Welcome in to the Blitz podcast. My name is Jaden Kozak. Today I am joined by Mitchell McDonald. It's been a long time since we've had you on the pod. We're glad to have you back. How are you feeling today, man?
It's the return of the king, man. Return of the king. Finally got a little bit of time to get on here. I'm just glad I can be a part of this again. Been missing it. Been hearing you guys talk about the power rankings, shit on the Chargers constantly. So I get to defend myself a little.
Yeah, we only did it so you couldn't defend yourself. We've been trying to lower them as farther as possible so we could get you back onto the show so you can come in, defend your honor. They've got a big game this week, which we'll get to in a little bit, playing the 49ers on Sunday Night Football. And little programming note, they're also going to be on Sunday Night Football again the following week. Got my Steelers-Bengals game that I'm going to next weekend. Got flexed out of prime time. Understandable, as the Steelers sit at 2-6, the Bengals have no Jamar Chase. You know, I kind of understand it. It just sucks because I paid primetime money to go watch 4 o'clock game. So, you know,
Somebody buy new ones.
Yeah, I mean, because we're like 2 rows from the field. So, like, we paid. Like, this was like my thing for the year. Like,
You're out a lot of money regardless.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at it the other day. I think this tickets
you
are
might
going
be
down
able to
by
get
like $60 or $70.
If you had sold that right before the beginning of the year, you could have sold that and then bought like a skybox this week.
Yeah, God, I mean, we could have been on the damn field. Just got a VIP, get a media pass or something for all the money that we spent. For God's sakes. All right, let's move into our first game. We're recording this during Thursday Night Football. I'm fairly certain that none of you care to talk about Panthers-Falcons or care to hear us talk about it. And I didn't watch it. So for the review, if you hear me say anything,
it's a downpour right now.
Just ignore it. Yeah, I mean, it's a downpour, and for whatever reason, from what I understand, from what you've been telling me,
as I say that,
passing the ball
Terrace Marshall just takes one like 40 yards and rips off a few tackles.
I do think Terrence Marshall is a fantasy sleeper moving forward. Yeah. Obviously, he's a wide receiver too on that team. You know, I mean,
as a dynasty owner who recently cut him, he's obviously on the up and up.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that with the draft picks that they've now accumulated, they're going to take a wide receiver in the first 2 days. And, dude, I'm so excited because, like, you and me were, like, our draft guys. So that's coming up soon. And this is a big draft for me. I'm fairly certain we are, like, the prime candidate to trade down. I talked about it with Kane on the Power Rankings show yesterday. Steelers could be in a prime spot to trade down, so maybe we're picking multiple times in the first round.
You're sleeping on Skronsky, though. I mean, you need the tackle help.
I don't think he goes in the top 4, though. I don't think he goes in the top 4, though.
I mean, if no one bites, no one gives you what you want, you kind of have to. It might have to come down to that, like because Will Anderson, if you're at 4, you're not getting Anderson.
But, dude, Will Levis, he's like creeping in there, and you know how teams get with quarterbacks as we get closer and closer to the draft. You think about there's going to be Detroit, Houston, Carolina, and Indy now. Indy's joined that party of teams that like need to draft a quarterback this year in the first round. And if we can find our way into that top 3, somebody will call about Levis. Like, I know there's Anthony Richardson and Hendon Hooker towards like the middle to late first round. Obviously, things can change between now and then, but as of right now, that's kind of where they're sitting. Somebody's going to call about Will Levis. Somebody's going to want those traits. I mean, the Josh Allen comp is there. It's really hard to like make that comparison considering he's the best quarterback in football right now, arguably. But the traits are there. I know like Kane doesn't want him to go to Washington because he doesn't think Washington can develop him, which is probably true. But I think somebody will call. I want to get in the top 3. I want TJ Watt to just sit it out this season. Go break your own sack record again next year. You're not going to do it this year, probably. But I want a top 3 pick because somebody will send us 3 first-round picks to go up, especially if Stroud's still on the board. Somebody will send 3 first-round picks to come up to get that, and our team is old. Like, Cam Hayward has been playing poorly this year. I mean, look, roster all around. Like, our playmakers are young, but the entire defense is old. Even the offensive line is just old and bad. Like, we need an influx of young talent.
I mean, Dan Moore. You got Dan Moore.
Yeah.
That's about all you got.
Let's get into our first game here. We got Seahawks and Bucks in Germany. First NFL game in Germany. They've been doing the London thing for a few years now. I guess now we're expanding to Germany. What are your takes on like the whole like international, like the potential for an international division?
Well, from what I've heard, like there's a few ideas out there, like where they play half the season there, and then they have like local camps in the U.S. where they play like either the first or second half of their schedule in the States as opposed to away, which is real. It's the only way you could logistically do this because the jet lag would eat away at a team, let alone it's going to piss people off, but the NFL is bound to do it. They're going to try to make this a global franchise, try to make it in the likes of basketball and soccer where it's actually international. It's only a matter of time before it happens, and it's going to suck because you know your team's just going to be dead the week after. I guess they kind of have to schedule it for bye weeks, maybe like a middle of the season, 8-week stint where they're at home, and then 4 weeks where they're actually in the States, and then 4 weeks back home. It's just a weird dilemma, and I feel like they'd have to go back to a 16-game schedule to do that, to try to like even out the like scheduling issues that are going to come from it.
Yeah. I personally think it's going to be a mess. Just like, as you were saying, like, obviously the traveling aspect of it, like, even if you have your own division of, like, 4 teams that are, like, international, they're still, like, a United States apart. Like, if you're in Germany or, like, wherever, I obviously don't know the geography of, you know, the countries on the other side of the world, but I'd imagine it's still a pretty big distance considering they're, like, in, you know, depending on what continent they're in. It's a pretty big distance regardless, and even then, you're going to have teams that are like, because not every team's going to travel out there every year, and if you do, you like maybe one game a year, but shit like that, I mean, like, imagine a team like gets it on their schedule, but then a team in their division doesn't have to travel out there, and they're going to be pretty pissed about it. So it's there's going to be so much money in it that they're going to do it, but it's going to suck. Like, and there's going to be a lot of backlash to it. And
I know that, like, or right now they're trying to schedule bye weeks around it so you don't have to travel back and then immediately play, and it's just going to create a nightmare if they do that. Like, trying to schedule bye weeks to accordingly to having to go across the ocean to actually play.
Yeah, and the other thing is, and this is with one game per week. Like, you can do that where you schedule the bye weeks right after. If you have multiple teams out there, you're going to have multiple teams playing out there per week. So you'd have to have all those buys line up every year, and then obviously you're going to have teams.
And then they're only eligible for like
there.
Thursday nights and Monday nights in the United States. So you have to get it in that condensed schedule that they're going to have and cram them into it, regardless of whether or not they're actually going to be competitive.
Yeah, I hope it's a long way away from now when that happens. I don't want to have to worry about it. But let's move back to the NFL. I know that this is going to be just a completely off the rails podcast. I can feel it because we haven't obviously we haven't done a pod together in a little bit, so I'm just gonna ask you your opinion on philosophy and
the people want to know OG Big Mac's opinions.
Yeah,
Haven't
right,
been on in a while.
OG Big Mac,
Seahawks, OG Big Mac, Dr. Big Mac, whatever you want to say.
Seahawks won 4 straight now. Coming off another win this past week against Arizona. Tampa finally getting a win. Kind of snuck away with one against LA. You probably didn't feel like they were going to win that game. They put a drive together. I said it on the Power Rankings show. This feels like you just need to see one go in. And I feel like they're going to rip off a couple straight here. But, man, it's weird to talk about this team because they've been, the roster is good. This is a team that we had at number 3 in our preseason Power Rankings. Most of those players are still there. And they've just completely underperformed. Like, it's not like Green Bay or LA, and I've said this probably 100,000 times, where it's like, LA, we know the offensive line is a problem. Green Bay, wide receivers are the problem. I don't know what the problem is in Tampa Bay. So this could be another game, and this is a big win. Like, this was a game that, obviously, these London games, or international games, rather, haven't been super competitive in the past, but this game, I mean, the NFL kind of fell into a really good game being played out there. So what's your big take on this one?
Subtle joke off the bat. I think Tom Brady's going to win in Gisele Bündchen's homeland of Germany got to get a revenge game in, hold a little bit of spite against it. But I, like you said on the pod that just came out today, I think this is like a lid off the basket situation. You need to watch one go in because this Bucks team, they did not change a significant amount from year to year. I think it's just the lack of Arians coaching now and having to have it all figured out by Todd Bowles in the middle of the season. And they're just sorting things out. This team has the talent. I know they've accused you of being a roster watcher, but when the roster's been there for about 3 years now and they've been good year after year, I don't think it's something you should be tagged against for saying that they should be good right now. It's just a matter of whether or not they can become a cohesive group and just actually bring it together. Because that defense is great. I know Devin White, he's kind of spotty. He's got the athleticism. He's got the talent to be great, and he just kind of blows things up for him. Vita Vea finally came back around to himself this past week. And it's only a matter of time before Godwin and Evans both get clicking at the same time. It's kind of been one or the other, just minimal one or the other. It just seems like this is a classic Tom Brady instance where you write him off and then boom, he's right back in it. It happens year after year. I know that game, like Kareem Hunt went for 200 yards his rookie year. Everybody said, "Oh, this is the year the Pats are done," and I think they ended up winning the Super Bowl that year. It's been time after time we write off Tom Brady and then boom, right back into it. This year, it's the divorce is setting him back. New head coach, and then boom, he's back.
Yeah, and to your point about that, I can't remember if I brought it up on the show or not, but we think even 2 years ago where the Bucks were like struggling, they were trying to run Arians' offense instead of Tom Brady's offense, and it wasn't really working. We all remember like the Tom Brady holding up the forks, that was fourth down, and that like disastrous start to the season. And by the end of the year, we're all like, "Is this the greatest roster in NFL history? Like top to bottom, is this the greatest thing we've ever seen?" And they came in as a wild card team. And they might even be in a better scenario this year because this division obviously is a race to the bottom all across the board, despite the Saints not having their first round pick. So I don't really know what they're doing, but we'll get to them in a little bit.
As the Falcons are currently down 19-9 right now to the Carolina Panthers.
Everyone is trying their damnedest to lose this division. Coming in this game, one of the big stories has been this Seattle rookie class. You got 2 starting tackles, Tariq Woolen at corner, Kobe Bryant at slot corner, Kenny Walker, dude. Where are we talking about this being like historic class? I know like some of the recent ones come to mind of the 2018 Ravens with Lamar and Orlando Brown and Mark Andrews, the Saints of 2017 with Kamara. And then, you know, you look further back, 2011 with Richard Sherman, Bobby Wagner, those guys. And that really, you know, was able to hold their franchise up into Super Bowl contention for 7-8 years. I mean, do you think this could be one of those kinds of classes?
Oh, yeah, 100%. They're hitting on so many of the picks they had. The only guy that, like, even is, like, an asterisk right now, just because he was developmental to begin with, is probably Boye Mafe. And he's had flashes of showing up. But you land on Tariq Woolen, you land on Ken Walker, you get 2 starting offensive tackles out of the same exact class as rookies. No, like, developmental curve to them. They're playing solid enough as rookies. This is probably on par with that Saints draft class that had multiple All-Pros. I would put it in a different class from the Ravens just because the Ravens took a quarterback and it hit. But it's up there. This is definitely the groundwork they needed. And that trade of Russell Wilson is making them look like absolute geniuses right now.
Yeah, it especially obviously when you see what's going on in Denver. Like, and Seattle's got a better record. They're playing better football, and Geno Smith is playing better football than Russell Wilson. That has been unequivocally the greatest story of the year. But I just want to take a little flashback here. I don't remember which version of the mock draft it was. I believe it was mock draft 2.0. I had Tariq Woolen going to Seattle with like pick 39.
Yeah,
you were like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" It was like, because I mean, it's like Tariq Woolen out of UTSA.
They got him where he realistically should have gone. Now,
yeah,
that's the
and
thing.
I mean, I'm gonna pat myself on the back for that one. I think that was an excellent call by me. Listen to me this draft season. If you want to know who the best players are going to be from next year's class, just ask me. I'll let you know. So spreads
Wow.
for this game.
Not the other draft expert here. Ugh.
He's kind of. Spreads for this game. Tampa's favored by 2.5 at home. I kind of find that hard to believe, to be honest with you. I know that like technically they're listed as the home team, but obviously this is a neutral field game, and with Seattle playing as well as they have, and Tampa Bay barely sneaking away with a win after losing like 3 or 4 straight over the past couple, I feel like Seattle should be favored in this game. I was a little shocked to see that Tampa was favored by 2.
The jet lag is going to be crazy. They have to fly almost a full day to get there.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, would technically Seattle have to go, like, is this one of those scenarios where you can just go the other way? Like, you don't have to fly all the way? They
are like right on the midline of it. They're like right on the midline of it. We're usually a weather podcast, but we've turned to geography
I was about to say,
lately.
well, dude, I haven't asked Kane about the weather, or Kane hasn't asked me. I think we just like made fun of him enough to the point where he stopped asking about it, because the weather
brought
has
up
not
the
came
rain
up in like an
tonight,
hour and
so-
a half.
We're here in spirit.
All right.
Speaking of Spirit, Spirit Airlines supporting the Seattle Seahawks, who are hardly going to make it there this week. But I realistically think that the Bucs should be able to cover this. Like, it should be all signs pointed towards Seattle being favored in this. But I think the Tom Brady effect's setting in, and I think that the sports books know that. Like, this is when he turns it on, he starts clicking, the team rallies around him. And, like, it's just the time. It's the turning point for him, I think.
Yeah, That's what I was saying. Like, I know it's stupid, but like him hugging Byron Leftwich and like he just looked like so relieved. And he comes to the press conference, he says like that was fucking awesome or something like that. And that just feels like we're gonna like watch that video at the end of the season when they're like in the NFC title game, and you know we'd be like, this is the moment.
He's making the
watched this moment.
TikToks again too. Like,
Yeah, and
it's
he's
switching.
back to. He's got the confidence to make the TikToks again. How do we want to do this? Do we want to just call out straight, money lines, or do we want to go off spreads here? Obviously,
Money
we'll put out-
lines.
Okay.
Money lines. Stick to our pick sheet, I think.
I'm
So
gonna
I'm
go
gonna
Tampa.
stick with the
I don't know
Bucs
what
on
my
this
picks.
one.
I don't know what my picks sheet said,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna go Tampa here. Do you have any injury thing for this game? I don't think anybody's injured in this game.
I mean, other than people who are out for the season, nothing big.
Yeah,
Like Shaq Barrett done. Other than that.
that's a weird thing because like they still were able to put the pressure on LA last week, and I think that's more of a testament to how bad LA's line is than anything.
That's
But
LA.
no,
That is
no
LA.
Shaq Barrett, and they're still able to put it on him. Well, you'll test these rookie tackles this week. Who like. Yeah, they're 2 starting tackles. They haven't been like Rashawn Slater, Tristan Wirfs level of players, but they're still starting tackles as a rookie, so you got to give them credit for that.
The issue is the interior, and that's where their best pressure comes from nowadays
Yeah.
in Tampa. And I don't know if they can handle the likes of Vita Vea.
Yeah, we'll see.
And
We'll
Akeem
see.
Hicks, too.
Yeah,
You get that duo going
he
up the
came
middle?
back
That
last
might be
week.
dangerous.
One thing though, another one thing. Kenny Walker, dude. I think Kenny Walker's top 5 back fantasy wise moving forward, and I think he might. Do you? Okay, I know we're.
I worry about
I
his
wonder how we're
receiving
up to
production.
18 minutes and we're just finishing our first game, so this should be a nice 3-hour.
This is a good one, though. This is one of the best games.
Yeah. Okay. Is Kenny Walker the Dynasty
Unfortunately, we have
101
two
next
off
year?
the bat.
Yeah. You think Kenny Walker's Dynasty 101 next year?
He's currently that, yeah. He's already that.
Victim in the 5th round. Oh, gotta love it. All right, moving on.
And I was one pick behind you, unfortunately.
All right.
I thought it
So
was
we
gonna
both
be
went.
the whole.
We both went Tampa on this one. Moving on to our next game. This would be like the game of all games if it weren't for some lingering injury issues. We've got Vikings at the Bills this week. Bills coming off a tough loss to New York. Vikings have won 6 straight. I guess you can say narrowly. I don't want to turn into Kane. I don't know if it's a podcast host thing where you like overplay the score of every game, but yeah, they do narrowly escape the Commanders there. But there's some big injury news in Buffalo. Probably the biggest injury news that we'll hear about this season as far as like being held in limbo. What do you got on Josh Allen?
Yeah, they're saying it's just a minor UCL sprain, but this is an issue that's popped up for him before. He missed 4 weeks a few years ago because of this same exact injury, and it's it's likely to linger. If they don't rest him this week, even if it is minor, it can just progress further and further because every time you cock back, you're putting pressure right on that ligament every time. And it's just going to get worse and worse. I mean, everybody associates it with Tommy John's. It's going to be uncomfortable for him. If you see some straight passes, don't be surprised because it is very likely to happen with that because it's not on the follow-through. Like, you are putting pressure on that as you go back. It could lead... It could affect this game, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Do you think that they ultimately end up starting him?
It depends on how much they let him decide, because I feel like they want to be conservative. Because this team's going to make playoffs regardless. It's just a matter of whether or not they win the division and want home field advantage.
That is the big thing, is getting home field advantage, because look in this division. The worst team is the Patriots at 5-4. Not that I'm saying that they're going to take over, but, dude, Miami, right on their asses. The Jets just beat them. They're now right on them as well. This is, we talked about the AFC West all offseason. We also talked about the NFC West, the AFC North, and then now the NFC East also getting a lot of talk. Dude, the AFC East might be the best division in football, especially if the Jets can hold on to this level of play and the Patriots can keep playing like this. I do think that this is the best
division in football. After we shit on the Patriots for a steady offseason.
Yeah, well, you know what?
We trashed them.
Everything that we said was right. Their offense does have problems moving the ball. Like, a lot of what they've been doing has been defensive points that they're getting. And Mac Jones has not been good this year. Like, we can all come out. He's been a complete afterthought. Obviously, Bailey Zappe's been getting time over him at certain points of the year, injury or not. We were right. It's just not working out record-wise. I think they've hit the win total that we projected for them coming into the year already, and we're just hitting the mid-season mark. Who's out? Maybe. Obviously, with Josh Allen, potentially facing some injury troubles, I think the big matchup to watch here is the Vikings offense versus that Bills defense. The Bills defense has been so good this year. Despite being banged up in the secondary, they've still been able to hold their own in that pass rush with just a stable of guys. They can get consistent pressure going up against this Minnesota front, which Minnesota's offensive line sneakily been one of the best groups this year. This is the best Vikings offensive line that I can remember since I've been watching football. You've got Darisaw coming into his own in his second season, Brian O'Neill being a very, very solid right tackle. Really the only hole that you could find in this offensive line is Ed Ingram. Hopefully that continues to hold up here, because you got to give Kirk Cousins time. In a game like this, especially, if Josh Allen plays, this could turn into a shootout very quickly, and you're going to need to be able to get the ball into your playmakers' hands. I know they got Hawkinson. I really thought that they were going to get a receiver. I know we're like 2 weeks late on the deadline talk, but I really thought that they were going to get a receiver.
I did too, but you win some, you lose some. Hawkinson's a great receiver. My big thing, Trey White might make an appearance in this game and be enough for Justin Jefferson here.
Yeah.
He's finally recovering from this ACL injury. If he's back in full form and in the game, it might be a little bit of difficulty for Kirk. This might be a 1 p.m. slaughter, but it's got big-time late-night implications, which is Kirk Cousins' allergy at this point.
Now, do you think that has anything to do with the line? It's the Bills 3.5. Bills minus
the 3.5.
Do you think it would be like 4.5
it's
or 5 if it was at 8 o'clock? Do you think Vegas knows about prime time?
It'd be damn near a touchdown if it was at 8 p.m. It'd be like 5 or 6.
I also, do you think there's value?
It wouldn't be a touchdown.
There's value here to take the Vikings with Josh Allen's, status still up in the air here.
There's definitely a spread alert on this because they can at least try to control the clock. This is going to be the first true test, I feel like, that this offensive line's going to get outside of the Eagles, in which they got whooped in. But we'll see. I think Allen should be able to play through this. Worst comes to worst, they have three decent running backs. Read options are a wonder. Short passes are a wonder. Isaiah McKenzie over the middle. They have the outlets to do short game stuff. They don't have to make him force it downfield. It just kind of adds another element to this offense. And if you have the likes of Stephon Diggs going deep or Gabe Davis going deep, they're going to have to respect it regardless of your injury, because we just watched him chunk one like 40 yards downfield the play after that injury happened.
So I was at work when this game was going on, and I was watching it, and I didn't realize that he got hurt. And I remember watching the final play, and I was like, holy fucking shit. Because he literally launched it like 70 yards in the air. Like, with no... Like, the way he throws
Almost
the ball
on a
is
top.
just insane. I know. It's just insane. Another little small storyline to watch here. We do have the Minneapolis Miracle pairing back together. Case Keenum, Stephon Diggs, if Josh Allen doesn't go. Case Keenum revenge game. Case Keenum revenge game. Yes. Do it. And obviously...
Walk-off touchdown Diggs.
Yeah. Oh, my God. This is a big game for Tyler. Big Vikings fan. Is a part of the Blitz pod. Obviously, if you're listening, you know who Tyler is. But this... I have a weird feeling like Diggs is going to do something, and it's just that's going to be the winner for the game. Like, that's the only way to make it right after, like, the game winner that happened for the Minneapolis.
DJ Moore, helmet off, throw the ball.
And then they reverse the call, and then the kicker misses the extra point, and then they go to overtime. All right. Bills minus 3.5. What do you got? I don't know why I keep saying the spread if we're just going to do money lines. Who do you got in this one?
I got Buffalo, but it's nice to know the spreads on this for our gamblers who are going to be tuning in. If it was spread, I'd take Minnesota, but I'm going to take Buffalo straight up because I think Allen is going to force his way into this game.
Yeah. Vikes have felt fraudulent to me all year. I'm sorry, Tyler. I am. They've just not felt like the record that they've
had a pretty easy schedule.
Putting out. They've had an easy schedule. It's like every week I feel unmoved by their... Like, they can win by 10 points, and I'm just like, okay, you're supposed to win by 10 points. And in fairness to them, these are games that they usually lose because the Vikings like to do that thing where they play down to opponents and they'll drop a game where they shouldn't be. And they've been winning those games this year. Yeah, I know. And credit to them for doing that. But, you know, the one time we've seen them go up against like I know the Packers game was a good, a big test for them. But look, the Packers suck now. Like, we know that the Packers suck. So you can't even like say like, oh, that's a big win for them because the Packers aren't even good. You saw what happened when they played Philadelphia. Granted, Philadelphia's in that top 3, but we've got Minnesota at 4, and Philly beat the shit out of them. Like, embarrassed them for 60 minutes. It was rough.
Just demolished them.
For that reason.
It was a beatdown.
And I can't, like, throw this asterisk on here. You know what? We're just going to go. Bills money line. Bills spread. We're going all in.
Ooh.
Please let Josh Allen
ride.
play. I don't want to look like an idiot here. I hope Josh Allen plays. Moving on. Next game. Boy, wow, this is a fall from grace. Lions Bears.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
It fell off quick in the 1 o'clock morning.
Jesus Christ, man. Divisional game though, so that's fun. Justin
Fields on the up and up.
Yeah, I was going to say, Fields been lighting the world on fire. Finished with 178 yards on the ground last week. Set an NFL record. Also, one Offensive Player of the Week, which I feel like that never goes to the to the losing team.
On the opposite side, Kirby Joseph, Defensive Player of the Week. He had 2 picks, 3 passes
really
defended, 11 tackles, I think.
Kirby Joseph looks really good. I was
optimistic for him. Apparently, they just need to fire their defensive coordinator, and they figured it out. That was all it took.
And you know what the funny... Like, Aaron Glenn was getting, like, head coaching conversation this offseason. And now he's at the head of, like, a historically bad defense. And he'll never get that...
He's at the head of maybe a
opportunity again.
Coach.
Yeah, he might be a CB's coach next year, if he's lucky. Obviously, the storyline here is... Justin Fields versus that Lions defense that has been so bad. Can Justin Fields keep this up? I'm starting to see, like, everybody posts their weekly fantasy rankings. Dude, I'm seeing Fields in the top 4, top 3. Like, if you're going to keep it going, this is a game where you do it. Obviously, we thought that the Packers would be able to do a little bit more than they did last week. They scored 9 points. So, I don't know. I do feel like the Fields thing's got to stop eventually. Like, there's only... And I like Fields. I do. I was like, why did we take Kenny Pickett when if the Bears are at the top 3, they're going to Josh Rosen, Justin Fields, and we can just take Justin Fields. I would have loved to do that. What do you got on this game? I'm still collecting myself.
I do have one injury thing on it about Swift. He's still dealing with the shoulder and the ankle injury that he's been dealing with since week freaking 2. I mean, I was literally updating my injury report, and 4 of the names were the same as they were on the list from week 4, and we're in week 10 now. It's just nagging injury after nagging injury, and Swift is one of those guys. Campbell said he's going to try to integrate him more into the offense this week, and obviously they've just been taking it very precautiously because they had no intentions of winning this year, apparently, if they're not going to put in their star running back. But it'll be interesting to see what he can actually do against us. It's a pretty good defense in Chicago, I'll admit that. And if he actually shows out, his outlook for the rest of the season is going to be good. I know fantasy owners have been dying to see this. Fantasy owners that have been trying to dump him off to the likes of you and me, Kane, have been trying to dump him off to us. So we'll see if he can actually turn it around. But I kind of like Detroit in this, but I'm sticking with the hotter hand. And I took Chicago in this.
Yeah, personally, I know we're talking about Swift. I'm out on Swift rest of the season. I'm in my main league is where like Swift matters to me. I don't have him. I drafted him, weirdly enough. Traded him I think like a week after he got hurt. I'm out for the rest of the year. Maybe if I'm 7-2, 8-1, 9-0, like if you're one of those people and you can like buy low on Swift, like if the person that has Swift is terrible because they've had Swift and he hasn't been playing, try and buy low on that, give them a running back that's active. But what is going on in the dude? You look like
that is why they do not pass. That was almost a pick six. He got pushed out of one. Mariota threw up a bomb. I don't know why they're passing in the rain. They are consistent on running, and suddenly it's raining, and he decides, what the? Oh no, he was down. He was going to the ground and tried to roll into a pass, and his butt hit the ground, luckily, because that was almost a pick six.
Just because the Falcons played the Panthers last week, I'm like, every time you say it's raining, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? They're playing in a dome. And it's just because like I can picture them being in the dome because they played each other 2 weeks ago. I hate the 2 times you play a team 2 times in 3 weeks. That's so stupid. Why do they do that? Like it feels like they just played last week. I don't know why they're doing that. But Swift,
I don't know why he even threw that.
Swift rest of season, I'm out, dude. Like Dan Campbell said, I think it was week before last, said, yeah, we probably gave him 1 too many carries. He had 5 carries. You can't. It's not good right now. And obviously the Lions are not trying to win this year. They're looking for a quarterback. Swift's going to help them win games if they play him. And they don't want to do that. And this is going to be a relatively long rebuild, and you want to be able to have DeAndre Swift there for that because DeAndre Swift's a good player. So, I'm done with Swift. If you can get Jamal Williams, go do it. But maybe fantasy playoffs, if you're really locked into the fantasy playoffs, go for Swift. But other than that, I'm out. Any other takeaways in this game? I don't want to spend a whole ton of time here. I mean, Fields is
might be a rebound time for the Lions. I know I didn't pick them in this game. It feels like it might be time for them to turn it around. Because last week was an impressive win, regardless of how bad the Packers have been. Because they actually showed up in pass defense. Rodgers doesn't throw picks like that, even if it is an offseason. He looked rough, and they managed to capitalize on every bit of it.
Yeah, Like I said, Fields is interesting, but outside of that, I don't know how I could pick the Lions in this one, man. Like this offense that we thought is going to be like putting up all these points. The Packers defense has been fine and it's getting better, but they still only scored 15 points last week. Amon-Ra St. Brown, this is another fantasy disappointment. This year's Cooper Kupp that I
hurts me to see
heard a couple times.
Caden.
I didn't understand the Amon-Ra St. Brown hype, and then when he came out for like the first 2 weeks and was like going insane, I was like, oh, okay, this is great. Like I didn't like draft him in any leagues. I probably left him on the board when I shouldn't have. Like relative to his ADP at the time, and I was like, am I doing this again? Because I was like,
I just traded him away in a dynasty league too. I was so mad.
Yeah,
I had just traded him away, and then he tanked. I was like, all
and
right,
like I'm seeing like people put him in their top 6 rest of season in front of like Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams. Like I was like, okay, maybe we should pump the brakes. And lo and behold, we should have pumped the brakes because he's been painstakingly average since he returned from injury. So I've got nothing else on this game. There are more important games here. I'm sorry, Lions and Bears fans, but maybe next year when it's Bryce Young versus Justin Fields or C.J. Stroud versus Justin Fields, we'll talk about this game a little bit more. But Bears are favored by 3 at home, so essentially even split in a neutral field. I'm probably going to take the Bears. I trust the hot hand of Justin Fields right now. I don't trust the Lions defense, and I don't trust the Lions offense either, so I'm going to be taking the Bears on both in this one. Yeah.
I
think
picked
for
my
me.
team.
Oh, right. Sorry.
I mentioned.
It felt like so long ago.
I
didn't
looking at the sheet to check the next game.
I'm not cutting that either. Damn it. If Kane doesn't have to make cuts, neither do I.
We live with our L's. So are we doing Denver, Tennessee next, or
we are doing?
Are we doing
da-da-da-da.
Jacksonville, KC?
Jags Chiefs is our next game in Kansas City.
All right.
Chiefs are favored by 9.5. Shocker. Jags are coming off a win last week. They were able to come back from being down 17 to the Raiders, who we're going to have a very, very long talk about in a little bit. Trevor Lawrence looked good coming down. It just feels like all the meaningful games that Trevor Lawrence plays, like when he plays well,
secondaries too.
Nobody cares when Trevor Lawrence plays well. Like whenever the lights are on and you want to see it, it's just never there. Like we want to see it happen when everybody's watching. Like, you know how much the narrative would have changed on Trevor Lawrence if he balled out against Denver. Well, I was gonna say because that was an island game, but nobody was watching that game because it was only on ESPN Plus. And
he had his chance to have the comeback and he just kind of
and he didn't.
When he was the only game on TV.
I still believe, and I'm so glad they went and got Calvin Ridley. But I still believe in Trevor Lawrence. That he's too talented not to have this work out for him. So this sucks. The Chiefs are playing really good football right now. I know that they were held in a close game against Tennessee, but that Tennessee defense, man, I know that the names aren't the flashiest, but that is a fucking fantastic defense. Like, they play so well. And they were roughing up Kansas City. Like, they were like, you can't call the shit all game. You can't call it every play. So they were holding, they were grabbing, they were shoving. But that's kind of what you got to do when you're the underdog. When you are, let's face it, a lesser team with lesser players, you got to come out and do that, and you got to be aggressive. And they just told the refs, man, you can't call this every play. But we're not talking about the Titans. What's your takeaway here?
They were tough in that game.
Yeah.
My takeaway here is that Trevor Lawrence is still overrated. I think that the Chiefs are going to smack them in the mouth. I know you're still a believer in Lawrence, but you can't be this hot and cold. Like, he doesn't have the arm strength of the likes of Josh Allen to make up for it downfield. I know his receivers aren't the best, but he's either putting it on a dot or nowhere near it. He is making either boneheaded mistakes or playing to a perfect script. It's nothing in between, and you can't afford to be playing like that when you're on. It's going to be rough to say this, but an offense devoid of talent. You have ETN, you have Kirk, and Kirk is at best a slot receiver that is above average at his position. And you just don't have the weapons to make up for it. And I don't think he's going to get the opportunity much longer to prove himself. Because if this team doesn't make some noise late in the year and starts off slow next year, he's going to be written off. And I don't think he's going to get the opportunity to write back like Gino.
Shut up, man. That's a terrible joke. I hate you. Okay. With that being said, do you think there's any chance, let's say they're picking at 2 next year, and C.J. Stroud's still available?
They're going to give him the chance. They're going to get...
As they should, because he's a better prospect than C.J. Stroud. I just asked the question.
Manning.
I was baiting you. I wanted to see if you'd take it.
No, they won't do that. I mean, with the likes of Will Anderson, offensive tackles, any of the receivers,
Dear God, if
which
they
would
go
be a slight
edge 2 years in a
reason.
row with Josh Allen still on the roster,
They need,
they
honestly,
need
the
they
record
need
they're
to
at right
trade back.
now
They're
is landing them perfectly for a receiver.
yeah, I
You
was about to
stack
say
up Ridley, Kirk, and any of those top guys, and
Quentin
they're looking
Johnson
solid.
screams. Quentin Johnson's perfect
Oh,
here.
big man. Oh,
Quentin
ho, ho,
Johnston,
ho.
because what I'm thinking, and I thought
You
about
get a guy that
this
can open off.
in the past, is like obviously you see like, Dolphins trading for Tyreek Hill, Eagles trading for AJ Brown. What if the Jags, obviously Cincinnati's situation at wide receiver, they can't pay everybody. What if Cincinnati were to send T. Higgins to Jacksonville for like a first-round pick? When T. Higgins' contract time comes, now with Calvin Ridley there, they're probably going to take a wide receiver in the first round too. That's probably dead, but dude, getting T. Higgins back with Trevor Lawrence, obviously T. Higgins has the skill set to be a wide receiver one, and what Trevor Lawrence does well is have amazing ball placement to throw it up to those, jump ball guys, and T. Higgins is that jump ball guy. So I think that would have been a match made in heaven. Obviously, they played together in college as well, so that chemistry's there. I thought that would have been perfect. Obviously, they decided to go the Calvin Ridley route. Can't really blame them there. Kansas City, what can we really say here that hasn't already been said? This is a fantastic team. I don't think Jacksonville is going to test them. I think this is, not a statement game. This is just, you expect KC to win by 17 plus, and I think that's probably what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Are we
This
in
is just
agreement
a
there?
game where they're just gonna. This is just going to be a game where they flex on them because the only thing that the Jags truly do well, like they have a good front seven, and even though it doesn't show in the stats on their run defense, KC is not going to run because, as we saw last week, the only person who can efficiently run is Patrick Mahomes. They are just going to assert their dominance on a lesser team, and it's going to be an easy week for them. If the Jags even keep this within a touchdown, I'd be shocked.
Yeah, so believe it or not, I did have a question for the Chiefs. Do we think that their significant inability to run the football is going to be a real problem down the stretch, and as far as Super Bowl aspirations go? I think they finished with 11 carries for 13 yards, something along those lines. It was rough.
Outside of Mahomes.
Yeah, outside of Mahomes,
Yeah.
the Chiefs running backs, Clyde, Pacheco, and I know I saw Jerick McKinnon a lot. I don't know if he actually ran the ball. I know he caught a couple passes, but yeah.
It could be an issue running down the lines because there's only going to be so many bad run defenses you actually play, and you're not going to be able to pass all day against some of these secondaries because they have good schemes.
Yeah. Still, we're trying to pick out flaws of one of the best teams in the NFL. You got to find something. But I do think, the inability to kind of offset with the run game, this was a problem that they've had in the past, was they're not running the ball. Everybody knows they're going to pass on every play because they're not going to run the ball. Because they can't.
Look at the Bengals game in the playoffs. It's kind of obvious what was coming at them.
Yeah.
So they just had to prep to not make sure that Tyreek was going to kill them and do just enough against Kelsey.
And I was thinking about it the other day. It doesn't make sense to me that Tyreek Hill was on the Chiefs last year. We see how good this Chiefs offense is, and I'm like, what if we add Tyreek Hill to this team? And how do they not win every Super
It just
Bowl
seems like
in every
so
season?
mismanaged that they could not
I
put
know.
it together.
Well, that, and obviously we see this team now, and they've got a Juju, they've got a MVS, they've got a Sky Moore. When it was Tyreek there, it was Tyreek, Mecole Hardman, and whatever street free agent they could have to play wide receiver 3. So that is a little different, but conceptually, it's oh my God, Tyreek Hill was on this offense last year, with Kelsey, with Mahomes.
Travis Kelsey.
Oh my,
Yeah.
how did they not win? How did they not beat the Bengals? Fuck the Bengals. Doormat of the AFC
Twice.
North.
How did they beat him twice?
Doormat. Stand by that. God, I hate us. I hate us so much. So we're both taking Chiefs here.
What game? Oh yeah, easy.
All right. Moving on. Next game up, we got Browns and Dolphins. This is another weird one. I don't know why I don't want to watch this game. I feel like this game's going to suck for some reason. Whether it be somebody blows somebody out or it's a really close game, but it's just really bad football being played. I don't want to watch this game. Spread is a certain number that I don't have in front of me. 3.5 for the Dolphins are favored at home, which is weird. I feel like they'd be favored by more than that at home against the Browns. I guess Browns have been running the ball well.
Browns are a solid team.
Yeah, but Jacoby Brissett has this like tendency to like be really good and then okay, and then bad, and then really bad, and then really good, and then the cycle starts over again. And we just came off the really good game against Cincinnati on Monday Night Football. Now, I don't know what the bye does to this formula. I don't know if that counts as one of the weeks or if, this is the okay game. Because if this is the okay game, I think I think Cleveland could sneak away with this one, especially with the ground game getting going. That defense in Miami is a little banged up right now. So, maybe we could
Justin Fields just had 178
I was about to say,
yards
maybe Mike McDaniel.
They're obviously
Nick
not
Chubb,
doing that great.
Maybe Nick Chubb will listen when Mike McDaniel tells him to stop running the ball, unlike Justin Fields. And
then Kareem Hunt gets it.
That was so fun. When he was like, he's not really taking to the coaching because he said to stop scrambling. That was so funny. Mike McDaniel, dude, I love that guy. I love that. Legitimately, he's already a top 10 coach in my mind. The way that they've schemed up that offense.
He's just so relaxed.
I know. I love it. And he just doesn't give a shit about anything. And he's making jokes with the media. And I remember, when the Tua thing was going, he's like, what if, for the first time this week,
we asked about it. Yes.
We talk about the Minnesota Vikings, who we're playing this week. What if? Mike McDaniel, very cool guy, in a season where Brian Daboll didn't miraculously have the Giants fall into 6 wins through 9 weeks, and Seattle wasn't doing the things they'd be doing, I'd be pushing for Mike McDaniel to win Coach of the Year. Quick sidebar. I'm seeing tweet notifications of when do we see Desmond Ridder? Is it that bad right now?
Well, they just had a touchdown, so maybe not. A 97-yard 8-play
I was about to say a
drive,
Thursday night game against Carolina does feel like when Desmond Ridder would come in, but I'm not watching the game, so I can't really attest this. We're at 45 minutes, and we just started our 5th game, so we might have to turn the Jets on here.
I mean, in this game, my biggest thing is to see if Tua can actually continue this run of dominance, because he's been playing some subpar teams. They've been rough. I mean, Kane mentioned it last show. You've had a few stinkers in there, like the Lions and the Bears. It's only a matter of time before it kind of catches up with them, where a good defense plays them. And if Teron Armstead is even somewhat impaired, Myles Garrett's going to be right in his face. And
Teron
Denzel Ward is not a bad corner.
He is always somewhat
injured. He's always injured. Always. But this could be a sneaky game. But even with that, I'm still going to take Miami just because I think Tua gets it out quick enough. You got 2 quick receivers, and they're going to be able to manage and just straight up money line. But I think Cleveland's going to be able to cover the spread. It's going to be a tight game.
Yeah. Damn it, I want to take Cleveland. You know what? No. I'm taking Miami on both. I'm taking Miami on both. Since we cleaned that up very quickly, there was little to no analysis there except for what you said. So, essentially, I had little to no analysis. Tyreek Hill, wide receiver 1 rest of season? Yes, no?
MVP conversation. The rest
MVP conversation, okay.
They're picking it up this way, and Tua actually looks like he's worth the top 5 pick. Then he's doing something right.
And then Amari Cooper, when Watson comes back, do we expect him to jump into that wide receiver 1 fantasy conversation? He's obviously been on a pretty good run here with Jacoby Brissett. Watson, pretty big QB upgrade. You'd imagine they throw the ball a little bit more, and Amari Cooper has literally no competition in that offense for targets.
I think he's probably going to be about the same level. He's Amari Cooper. He might have one game in the 30s as opposed to in the 20s, where he's cap it out at. Yeah. He'll have nothing in one random game where Donovan Peoples-Jones is just getting an 80-yard touchdown. But other than that...
Kane Schwartz legend, Donovan Peoples-Jones. God's sakes, I couldn't believe he was, advocating for him to be, a legit football player.
He was... Oh, my gosh.
I will never forget when we went to that fucking Steelers-Browns game last year, the last Big Ben game at home, and somebody was wearing a legit NFL.com, Donovan Peoples-Jones jersey.
Oh, the DPJ.
His I want to know what business his
and he
father
got cussed
owns.
out for 3 hours.
Yeah, as he should. As he should. Moving on. Next game, we've got. Oh my god, I can't see these slides coming up. I literally just have it as game number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So until I click on it, I don't know what the game is.
Yeah.
The Texans and the Giants. Holy shit.
Giants.
We could do that, honestly, for time's sake. I'm going to be taking the Giants as well here because they stink, but they don't stink like the Texans stink.
Now, and this is probably the worst, even beyond the Chargers, worst run defense in the league. Like,
oh yeah,
people know they're going to run on them, and they still get pounded. The pass defense has good numbers because nobody cares about passing on this defense. They just take what they can get in the run game and just beat down on them. This team is obviously going for the number 1 overall pick, and this is just a cakewalk for the Giants. If they manage to blow this, then I am seriously concerned for their season outlooks. They might not even win the wild card or get to the wild card.
If the Giants lose this game, we're putting them in tier 3. Fuck that. But we're strongly considering tier 4 if the Giants lose this game. The Texans are. I don't know why. Like, I'm thinking about it now, and I was talking to Kane yesterday, like out loud, and I was like, "Why do we have the Texans at 30? Like, what did they do against? They held it close for 2 quarters.
They're competitive, but they never win. They managed to beat the Jaguars and tied.
They're scrappy.
It's a divisional game. They're scrappy, but they're scrappy too. Yeah. They're scrappy and they're crappy.
Dameon Pierce, though, is fun. Dameon Pierce, what is your take on him rest of season, fantasy-wise?
Fantasy-wise, he gets no catches. You are solely betting on him falling into the end zone. You are betting on him falling into the end zone. He's had, 2 games right around 20, and then the rest of it solid 13. Like, you're going to get steady production. And he's going to be a starter in deeper leagues, without a doubt. But if you're in, smaller league, you got to look for a better outlet. Because
Dameon Pierce?
It's capped. This team sucks.
I know his team sucks.
There's no way he's going to be putting up 6
Chris
points.
Moore was the wide receiver 1 last week. And he got 27 carries in a game that they were losing. Okay, so...
Yeah. And you know how many catches he got?
Shut up.
Not enough. Not enough.
So, I've been looking at trading McCaffrey. None of you care about this, by the way. I'm full aware. I've been thinking about trading McCaffrey, and I look around my league. There's 8 running backs that I'd be comfortable, with along with other stuff, that I'd be comfortable having come in for McCaffrey. Dameon Pierce is on that list. Obviously,
he has 20 catches.
No, listen, there would be more stuff that I would want with Dameon Pierce than let's say if I don't know, Nick Chubb. That's a terrible example because he's
I'd rather have Nick Chubb still.
He doesn't catch passes.
Same exact situation, better scoring opportunity.
But still, I mean, okay, Dameon Pierce
if you're running back, Pierce is great.
Dameon Pierce or Joe Mixon rest of season.
Mixon, he can get catches. I mean,
Aaron
I'm
Jones.
not that high on Mixon, but I'm higher. That is so injury bugged by that. Probably Jones by a slight nod.
Tony Pollard.
Because I think Zeke's going to get a ton of carries still. I'm going to edge it out to Pierce just for consistency reasons.
And then this one's weird because I don't really trust him to do what he did a few weeks ago. What about Josh Jacobs?
I'd take Jacobs.
Interesting. I think that might be my... Oh, Leonard Fournette.
Barely, because I hate Jacobs.
Leonard Fournette or Pierce rest of the season.
I'm fading Fournette as much as I can. But those catches still add up. So...
Yeah. They're
I'm expecting a hamstring injury, so I'm going to say Pierce.
Fournette is the antithesis.
There's a hamstring injury every
Pierce.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're both taking the Giants on this one. Again, if you are a Giants or Texans fan and wanted actual analysis, just wait till next week. Kane will be back. He'll bring stats. I'll actually, have brain cells. But this week, we're just talking. We're just talking ball.
It's just football.
Yeah, it's just we literally just named 2 PFF podcasts,
Talking ball.
just completely unintentionally, back to back.
Come on.
Next game up.
Stock exchange.
Oh dear. Saints Steelers. Steelers are at home. Saints are favored by 1.5. Dante Jackson has an Achilles injury. Breaking news here in the podcast. Dante Jackson.
Yeah, I saw him grabbing at his calf earlier. I was kind of worried.
I was going to say, do you have some instant injury analysis on that?
But I didn't watch the mechanism of injury, but I saw him grabbing the back of his calf, so I had a feeling it was not good.
Well, what do we pay you for if you don't watch the mechanism of injury?
The same amount we pay you for graphics.
Thanks. Saints, favored by 1.5. On the road here. I don't know what to think of that line. I mean, Steelers suck, but the Saints have also shown that they suck.
They're spotty.
They're very spotty. They get up for games, but when they don't get up for games, it's a pretty rough showing, as we saw last week against Baltimore.
Andy Dalton primetime games, did we expect much more out of him in that Cardinals game and this past Monday night?
No. I mean, I picked the Saints, and as did you. So, technically, kind of, we did.
I mean, I was optimistic that he'd just dump it off to Kamara, but they didn't throw it on.
Yeah.
I thought that would have been enough.
Did that game worry you ever so slightly on your Kamara agenda?
Not really.
Okay.
It was primetime Dalton.
Fair enough. Yeah, but then you'd think that Kamara would get more than 9 carries. I mean, I know they were losing, but that's still, something you'd want to do, get the ball.
I think it just gets in Dalton's head at that point. Because that last Justin Houston sack, he had an easy dump-off pass, could have just gotten the yardage and just got pounded.
Yeah.
There's just a handful of incidents, you can tell he gets bugged by the primetime stuff. It's all on his shoulders. Everybody's watching, and it just in his head.
And Dalton's been good this year. Don't want to knock him. I know that, in his primetime spots, when people, see it, he had the 2 pick sixes in a minute and a half against Arizona, then he didn't look very good Monday night. But he's been generally good this year, and I don't think there's a conversation of if we should see Jameis Winston again this year, unless Dalton gets hurt. I think it's Dalton's job until he gets hurt or, significantly does something to lose
another primetime game.
Yeah, but even then, Dennis Allen did say that Dalton is a starter moving forward, so I think that's, obviously, Dalton is a starter moving forward.
He's like an older Kirk Cousins at this point. Those two go simultaneously.
Yeah, because Dalton was the line for so many years of are you a good quarterback? Yes, if you're better than Dalton. No, if you're worse than Dalton. Now Kirk Cousins is a little bit higher than that line. I don't really know who that line is at this point. For a second I thought it was Tua, but now Tua's not really there. Maybe it's Derek Carr.
Derek Carr.
Yeah, I was just about to say. Yeah.
Jinx.
So on the Steelers side of things, I can just scream for 90 seconds if you want me to.
Get it out.
No, because I'm glad we're losing. Ultimately, I'm glad we're losing. This is the first time I talked about it with Kane, dude. And again, I talked about it on the podcast, so there's really no point of reiterating myself other than you hearing it. But I'm so tired of Pittsburgh fans bitching and complaining and saying that we need to clean house and trade every player and start over because we have had one losing season in 15 years. There have been teams that have been rebuilding for the entirety of this winning season streak. They have Washington, Detroit, Jacksonville. All these teams have rebuilt, made the playoffs, rebuilt, made the playoffs 3 times in this era, and we've yet to have a rebuild. It's time. This roster's old. Needs to happen. Trade down, get multiple first-round picks. Maybe find your way into a nice young player as well. Please, dear God, and don't fuck the draft up either. The Kevin Colbert, the fact that he's regarded as a good GM, I'm so glad he's fucking gone. He wasted AB. He wasted the, twilight years of Big Ben. He wasted Le'Veon. Granted, I do think that if Shazier didn't get hurt that year, we were going to win the Super Bowl. I legitimately think that.
You guys were on a good pace. You were really on a good pace that year, too.
I wanted to kill myself.
I feel like it's definitely rebuild time for you guys. You need offensive line and you need corners desperately.
Yeah, I mean,
you have talent elsewhere. Like it seems like you just need a handful of things, flip the switch, hit on a few picks, and you can find that spark plug.
Yeah, well, and the other thing obviously is Pickett. Like, is Pickett going to be good enough to get us there? Because
I mean,
independent of quarterback,
Big Ben. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want him to turn into late career Big Ben because that was tough to watch. I don't know how many more. If I take that many more years off my life, I might not be able to graduate college. But we are like independent of quarterback. You hit on a tackle pick, you hit on a corner pick. We could be right back in this race for the division. Like we have playmakers on this offense. Despite what everybody says about Najee, he's a good player, man. I don't give a fuck what you have to say about his yards per carry or his yards.
I just love to send that one clip of
I know you do, and I fucking hate it. Like I like get ready to like start typing shit, and I'm just like, it's not worth it. Because right now he's right. Najee doesn't look good. It sucks. I hate the people that are like, oh, he's a bust. Dude, he's a good player. Just not
I don't know if situation. He might not have been worth a first. If you had caught him like right at the turn of the second,
or if we would have had a serviceable O-line, because it's kind of like think about Saquon a few years ago. Think about Saquon a few years ago, where like his offensive line was so terrible, and he's like hesitating all the time. As soon as he gets the ball, he's like hesitating because he never thinks that a hole's going to develop. So he's like trying to create too much by himself. Granted, Saquon's more athletically inclined,
but he had 80-yard plays.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Saquon, when those rarely would happen, he would be able to break those off. Najee can't really do that, and I do think that's a flaw of his, is obviously the fact that he doesn't have breakaway speed or burst to be able to get those big runs because he's shifty as shit for a big dude. Like some of the plays that he makes in open field, like where he just like will make three guys miss. Granted, he's only going to get 7 yards, but it looks cool as hell. On the other side,
of a man, it just kind of worries me. Yeah.
On the other side of this, the Saints, what the hell is going on in New Orleans? I mean, this was supposed to be, obviously you've had injury problems and the quarterback situation is what you want, but you don't have a first-round pick this year. Your first-round pick is going to the only undefeated team in the NFL right now. What do you do? Like, moving forward, if you're the Saints, what the fuck do you do?
You trade away Kamara in the offseason. You couldn't get it done at the deadline. You dump it to him this entire year. You show he's worth value. You trade him for whatever you can get, and then there's just you trade everything else you can.
And this isn't
Cam
like
Jordan
the Saints
still valuable.
Fuck Cam. First of all, fuck Cam Jordan for saying that shit, saying that he doesn't think Big Ben should be a Hall of Famer, and then he thinks Eli should be in front of Eli. Come on, bro. Come on. You played against Eli more than Big Ben. You were in that NFC. You played against him a lot more often. Come on now. Like, Phillip Rivers, we can have a conversation. I still think it's Big Ben. I don't know what you think. But we can have a conversation. Eli, come on. It's like what you were talking about earlier with, like, Herbert and Burrow fans that were, like, clashing with each other, but they're, like, banding together to hold Tua out of the conversation. That's how Phillip Rivers and Big Ben, the fans that they had, would hold Eli out of the conversation. Yeah. Fuck the Super Bowls. I don't give a shit. Eli wasn't touching Big Ben. Or Phillip Rivers, for that matter, in my opinion. Yeah. Anyway, the Saints have been kind of like this Steelers team where they've been very competitive every year for like the last 10 or 12 years. They haven't had to tear it down. They've been $60 million above the cap every single year, it feels like. They're always going all in.
Last year.
Yeah, and you've got to respect that because it's worked. I mean, they got a Super Bowl. They've been in a couple NFC Championship games. They've been in the playoffs. It feels like every year since that Super Bowl win. Now you don't have Sean Payton. You don't have Drew Brees. Future's a lot more in question now, especially when this would have been easily the best draft pick you've had in 15 years, and it's the Eagles now because you thought you were one Trevor Penning away from winning a Super Bowl, and Trevor Penning...
He is just now becoming active. He is off of the IR now. That was all it was.
Okay, so do we
Complete
think that
shit.
Trevor Penning adds Super Bowl
Yep.
to this 2-6?
It was
3-6?
It was Olave was the biggest issue because they had to trade up a ton for him. And
They
that was
traded
clearly their goal.
I didn't even because the draft was such a fucking flurry for me. Because I remember when the Saints traded up, I was like, "Oh my god, this is for Willis," and obviously I was like, all in on Willis, and like had a mini panic attack when they picked Pickett. But like I was like, "Oh my god, they're coming to get Willis!" Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, and they took Olave, and I'm like jumping up and down, knowing that this guy just went 5 for 16 on Sunday Night Football. We'll talk about the Titans in a second. Instead of just continuously ramming on and on about the Saints and the Steelers, do we want to give like a pick for this game of some kind, a choice of who we think is going to win this football contest?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Saints, and I'm going to take them on the money line and the spread because it's only 1.5 of the spread, so it seems kind of easy. If they're going to win by more than 2.
Oh yeah, I'm taking the Saints on both.
Or at least 2.
They're such a better team.
They're
than the Steelers
much more
at this
better.
point.
I
know
mean,
TJ's
we're roster watching, but
yeah. I mean, God forbid we look at the players on the team that we're giving our opinions on here. Even with TJ coming back, I don't think he's able to make that big of an impact. Even though I do think like he's not the best defensive player in football, but he makes more impact on our defense than any other player in football. Like the ability to like make everybody better. Like obviously Micah Parsons could probably do more, and Aaron Donald's probably a better player, and Myles Garrett might be more of a physical freak. Dude, when TJ Watt is playing, our entire team is changed. Like, I mean, you look at last year. Was that a playoff team? No, it wasn't. But made the playoffs. TJ Watt broke the fucking sack record. First week of the year, TJ Watt has 3 sacks in like 3.5 quarters, and we beat the Bengals. Granted, some nice little kicks in there helped out a little bit, and we also had 4 takeaways in that game because TJ Watt is on Joe Burrow's ass all game.
And Joe Burrow was a little rusty, having not played at all in the preseason or having training camp. But
I don't think TJ Watt played in the preseason either. He didn't look rusty.
Yeah, but he didn't have appendicitis.
I don't give a who needs a fucking appendix. Saints on both. Moving on. When I click the damn thing, it needs to change.
That kind of hurt.
Huh?
You had me defending Joe Burrow. That kind of hurt.
Oh, yeah. You know what I've thought about? I've never heard someone on a podcast like ask them to repeat themselves. Do you think they just like let it go if they don't hear what they said? Or do you think that like all podcast people are like they know, like they hear it, they hear everything.
They know.
I feel like there's no way that you can like not. I don't know. I have this like we're not talking about football right now. I have this like, repulsive like ability to just say what to everything, and I feel like a lot of people have that. Moving on, Broncos. I've had the screen up. Broncos Titans. Tennessee at home after losing to the Chiefs in an overtime. I mean, I wouldn't call that an overtime thriller by any stretch. That game was. It was pretty cool to see and we were talking about the Titans during the Chiefs game. Now we're about to talk about the Chiefs during the Titans game. The Chiefs threw 68 times, and you want to know there was an NFL record set by most attempts, like the variance in between attempts. Patrick Mahomes threw the ball 68 times. Malik Willis threw the ball 17 times. 16 times. 17 times. One of those two numbers. Regardless, it was a record. And it was a difference in completions because I think Mahomes had 38 completions and Malik Willis had 5. Both NFL records, by the way. And Titans did a completed pass to receiver, which, boom, wonderful segue, could be fixed this week with the return of Treylon Burks. That is easily the best podcasting I've done this entire show. Treylon Burks.
Potentially Ryan Tannehill, too.
Yeah, that as well. First round pick in this past year's class. Didn't really get to play a whole lot. He kind of had like the Jamar Chase like preseason and training camp. Like, oh god, he's gonna suck, isn't he? Like,
can't see it.
Yeah, he can't. Yeah, like he was having trouble with his drops. He also had to leave practice one day because he like wasn't conditioned well enough to like keep up with everybody, and it was like, oh man, this is not going to go well. And hopefully this turns out exactly like Jamar Chase. I don't think he's that kind of player. I did love him coming out, admittedly.
Yes, you did.
I did. I love me some Traylon Burks. Later we got in the draft process, and like when I got to see some of his like athletic score numbers, didn't feel as good to be a Traylon Burks enthusiast. But hey, maybe he proves me right, proves me wrong. I don't really know anymore. Denver coming off the bye, did get a win in London to go into the bye. So there's maybe some momentum there. They trade Bradley Chubb at the deadline as well, so that's pretty big news. It was the first game without Bradley Chubb on the roster for them in 3-4 years. But they still have very good pass rush. Is Randy Gregory on his way back? Or is he back?
He should be right around.
It felt like he got placed on IR.
I have not checked his practice status this week. Yeah, he's right around there.
You keep talking. I'm going to do a little researching.
I think he should be right about back because it shouldn't have kept him out for an extended period of time, but we'll end up seeing. Either way, this pass rush is actually pretty good in Denver without Bradley Chubb. I think that's why they were so willing. Like, they found pieces in the draft or just in general to actually make up for what they would be missing in Bradley Chubb, who was kind of underwhelming for where he got drafted. And they got a lot of return, which kind of makes up for the Russ picks that they lost. So it could be an interesting game here, Denver, Tennessee. It's just a matter of how good that defensive line holds up against the King, because Henry is going to come at you regardless, and he's been on tear lately. We'll kind of have to see how that actually matches up, but at the same time, Denver could be turning the corner. Could not be, because they still didn't score a lot in their win last week.
Yeah, I mean, and it was Jacksonville, who is a team that we don't think very highly of. Goodbye, Mitchell. Great, I'm going to have to monologue. Fuck. Shit. I can talk, guys. I really can. Fucking shit. Randy Gregory is not back. I don't know how he finds the practice reports, but he's not on the practice report for this week. But Jacksonville's not a team that we think very highly of. Obviously, they're just not very good. So Denver going into London. Obviously, it's a big win momentum-wise. You need to get that win, especially with their season tumbling as it was. Need some confidence boost from Russell Wilson. That run game, though, still looks like a problem. Melvin Gordon has completely lost that job. I don't know if he'll ever get it back. I think it's going to be a timeshare moving forward. Who'd they get? I swear they got somebody at the deadline. Chase Edmonds. They got Chase Edmonds at the deadline. So that should be another guy in there that they add in. They've got Melvin Gordon. They've got Chase Edmonds. They've also got Latavius Murray. Mike Boone still also in that mix as well. So we'll see what they can do as far as the run game goes. Other side of the ball, Derrick Henry has still been on a tear this season, believe it or not. He, still looks like the best running back in football. As crazy as it is after the broken foot and the age and, all that stuff, dude, he's still just putting up numbers, still being able to, thank God, dude, thank God. Oh my God. Thank God. All right. Derrick Henry, though, still looks like the best back in football. I think he's going to give this Denver defense problems, despite the fact they've got a really good front seven still. But is it going to be enough here? I think Denver's... I kind of feel similarly to how I feel with Tampa Bay about Denver. Like, you kind of just got to see one go in. They were able to win that game late. Obviously, the bye kind of kills the momentum a little bit. But... maybe, like I said, maybe you just need to see one go in.
I think the return of Tannehill is kind of going to revamp this offense. So that's the biggest issue for me. Like, I think they're going to be able to actually establish a play action and complete passes to receivers, unlike what Malik Willis has been showing us lately. But it's kind of hard to stop Henry regardless of how good that defensive line is. And they don't have the best linebackers, so if they're not stopping him off the bat, Henry could go.
Yeah. I don't know how to find the practice reports. I looked in there. Maybe I did find it. I just didn't see Randy Gregory on it, so maybe that means he's not practicing. I don't know. I don't know if I mentioned the spread or not.
Actually, Titans, I think I had it up.
Titans are favored by 3 in this game. I think this is going to be a good game. Calling my shot. 2 slightly dysfunctional teams as it currently stands. I think this is going to be a really good game. 2 really good and underrated defense. I kind of want to watch this game. I'm off on Sunday, so maybe I throw up Stream. Did you see fucking PFF uses Stream East? I find that hilarious.
Yeah, you sent that on Instagram. It was just a screenshot with Stream East in the top corner.
I thought that was pretty funny. I'm taking Denver on both here. Fuck it, man. We ball. Denver. Russell Wilson. Mr. Unlimited. Going into Tennessee. Against the King. And getting a big win.
I'm going to go Tennessee money line and spread with 3 that I looked at, so I'm going to take Denver to... I feel like it's going to be a push, but I'm going to take Denver to cover.
I'm taking Tennessee.
I'm Tennessee money line, but...
I don't know.
No, you're right. You said let's ride.
I don't know why
you're
I
right.
said that. I'm sorry. I know I'm fairly certain in the pick... Let me double check. I'm fairly certain in the pick sheet that I said Denver, which obviously, if that's what I put in the pick sheet, then I need to stick to that because that would be dishonest of me to do anything else. And let me do a little scrolling here. I did an excellent job monologuing, by the way. I'm sure all the fans can attest to that. Obviously, as I did pick Denver.
I hope so. Go.
Denver, I picked...
The only one.
Why did I pick the Texans? Dude, I did not pick the Texans to beat the Giants. Why did I do that?
You can change that.
I was about to say, I can change that. I can't go back on that. Moving on to our next game here. Dude, what the fuck is it with the Raiders' schedule? And just every time I want to give up on them, they play a team where I'm like, okay, well, they'll probably still win this one. Raiders Colts. I put Colts Titans as the title for this slide. It still shows Raiders Colts, but I typed in Colts Titans. I don't know why. Raiders going to be at home here against Jeff Saturday's Indianapolis Colts. Raiders are favored by 5. I don't think I've got your take on the whole Jeff Saturday situation. I know we talked about Jim Irsay being an alien, but go ahead and give me your best Jeff Saturday thought.
I think he's just solely there to try to revamp the offensive line because that's what they thought was going to be a strong point at this point in the season. They have no intentions of actually keeping this man. He is there to be a placeholder until they can actually bring in someone good to be alongside the likes of Chris Ballard, who is redeemed as one of the best scouters in the NFL in terms of GM. So they're just trying to find a guy who's going to bring the strengths back to this team. And honestly, it's coming back at a good time because Jonathan Taylor's finally, he's been dealing with this turf toe for a while. He's probably not going to be the Jonathan Taylor of 20 carries for 200 yards, some random statistics like that where he's breaking off massive plays attempt after attempt. But I think they could find their roots again. But this week seems a little short notice to me, so it seems a bit far-fetched. And he's not their long-term solution. Saturday's just there as kind of a token of gratitude for playing for the team.
Yeah, I talked about it with Kane yesterday, where it's just Irsay's going to look like an idiot right now. And generally, he does look like an idiot. But for this move, he's going to look with his fucking stupid... I talked about it. I knew what Jim Irsay looked like. And then I saw that interview, and his eyes are going in, at obtuse angles in different directions. And I, God, I hate it. I hate it. He's going to look like an idiot right now, but I do think this is a move of all right, look, we've been doing this. We've been fucking around, being a 7-8 win team for the last couple years, getting these new, castaway quarterbacks. We need Bryce Young. We need CJ Stroud. We might need Will Levis. we're going to lose out here, like, essentially. I don't know why. I do think this would have been a fun wrinkle. Let Matt Ryan call plays. You're paying him enough. Let him call the fucking plays.
Play.
Or, yeah, for fuck's sake. Well, no, that wins games. Let Matt Ryan call plays. Because, maybe that gives him a gateway. Maybe this could be your, maybe this is your offensive coordinator next year. That's probably a little far-fetched. But
it's a little far.
I mean, you just fucking hired Jeff Saturday to be your coach. Why not let Matt Ryan be your OC? Who gives a shit at this point?
At this point, yeah, it's just
he's older.
Franchise.
He's older than the guy that they've got calling plays by like 8 years. The guy that's calling plays is 30 years old. Matt Ryan's like 37, 38. And I guarantee you,
I feel like for all of our listeners that watch on YouTube and get to see our wonderful, beautiful faces, I made the mention in the group chat, like someone said, this just looks like your average podcaster. And I said, it actually kind of looks like if you meshed Kane and Tyler together into the same person. And it's about spot on. It's the haircut of Tyler, the beard of Kane.
What would a Kane-Tyler offense look like on a week-to-week basis?
I don't know.
Outside of
Washington-led offense mixed with Minnesota.
I was going to say, outside of just a
lot
general
of play
train
action.
wreck.
Play action with very limited run production to set up play action.
God bless. So the Colts they're headed to the bottom. Or they better be anyway, generally. Another team headed to the bottom and, kind of already there. So the team they're playing this week, the Raiders. Boy, god damn it. What the hell is happening here? And I talked about it with Kane. I need to trust my gut more often because I didn't like this Raiders team, but you know what? I bought in because everybody's like, oh, this is going to be great, Derek Carr. And I remember saying, Kane had Derek Carr as like his 8th best quarterback in the NFL. Tyler had him somewhere in that range. And I was like, you all are fucking morons. And here we are. They're morons. He sucks. I don't care if his entire college roster's out there with him. It doesn't fucking matter. He's not good. You can't. And McDaniels is asking him to be like a really good quarterback with this scheme, and he's just not that. What I told Kane, I was like, what Josh McDaniels
he's not
needs
the quarterback
to do,
for that scheme.
Yeah, what Josh McDaniels needs to do is go to his attic or his garage or his basement or wherever the fuck the playbook is that he had for Mac Jones. Go get it and hand it to Derek Carr. This is what you do now. You run play action boots all game. Go light him up.
Dude, what are you talking about? Clearly, he did not have control of the offense. He's calling triple reverse options, wide receiver versus wide receiver passes at least twice a game. This is him thinking he's an offensive guru, and then actually getting into the moment. And they run like a wide receiver reverse where Adams is supposed to pass, and he gets tackled 10 yards in the backfield. It happens at least once a game. He is just a complete moron when he is given the complete controls. When you let him take the wheel, he just does not produce. I don't think you can put that much of this on Carr because Carr has had his moments. He hasn't been good. He definitely has not been the guy that was dragging this team to the playoffs last year. But at the same time, Renfro and Waller both down. They're now on IR together, but you have Devontae Adams. The excuses should be out the window.
Yeah,
and they brought in Chandler Jones to try to make up for the pass rush, and he has a half of a sack. That is the biggest waste of an all-season move at this point.
And he's still got 2 years left on that deal, by the way, where he's making $17 million a year. Which, admittedly...
For a half a sack for 8 games.
Well, granted, a half a sack. But, the idea of Chandler Jones, now that I'm thinking about it, $17 million a year for what we thought Chandler Jones would be, it's actually kind of a steal. When you really think about it, it's actually not a bad deal.
Yeah, but you have to take in his age and regression.
I know. But I think part of the projecting that we did with the Raiders, just as a whole, was best case scenario all around. And we just made that the baseline of what if
that's
this player
what we did for everybody.
Is this, if this player is this, if the offensive line can hold up, if this can happen. And the odds of all those things happening are slim to none, and now we've seen what feels like none of them are happening. And this is the result. This isn't, guys like Trayvon Moorick, who looked good in the rookie
didn't
year.
work out, yeah.
taking a significant step back this year. The offensive line, I think we were in week 6 and they'd already played with 10 different offensive line combinations. It was rough. It's still rough. And it's going to be rough.
Isn't it Parham's the only guy like worthwhile?
Yeah.
And like Miller is meh at best.
He's a rookie, so you're still going to get dumb mistakes out of him.
It's only so good.
I don't want neither team should win this game. Both of them should forfeit and just get a loss.
Tie.
And honestly, that's a win for both. That's a win for Irsay and Mark Davis. Is both of them.
I will say, I checked our consensus rankings. I'm going to take a victory lap. I had the Raiders the lowest out of us at 16, which is still well below where they actually are. But woo,
where did I
my
have
Raider
hate
worked out for me.
You can remember that.
You had him at like 13, I think. Right about 13.
So that means that one of Tyler or Kane had them in the top 10 because. If I had them at 13, you
they were
had them at
like
16,
right on the cusp.
And they finished, I believe they were 12th.
11? 10? Yeah, one of them had them directly at 10. I remember that.
Guys, make.
I mean,
sick.
I can pull it up quick. If you want to talk about your pick for this,
I was about to say while you do that, Raiders -5. I'm still gonna go Raiders. Eventually it has to stop. Like eventually. I will be like, all right, I'm out on the Raiders, and then I don't pick them the following week. Because I've said that 3 weeks in a row now. Where like, all right, I'm done with the Raiders. I'm never fucking picking them again. And then they get like a dog shit team. Like next week they get Denver. Watch Denver like get the shit kicked out of them by Tennessee, and I'm like, but the Raiders, maybe they could, pull something together here. I am gonna take the Raiders in this one. I feel like, but the new coach bump, the new coach edge. Or the new former offensive lineman with a headset edge.
Rough. Hall of Fame offensive lineman, I'm pretty sure.
Sorry. Wait, no.
Right on the cusp.
He's not in the Hall of Fame. Maybe he might deserve to get there.
He should be. He should.
I'm fairly certain he's not. I know he just got put in the Ring of Honor. Also, you talk about your pick. Yeah, you talk about your pick.
Who do you think ranked them
the Colts or the Raiders?
Shit, Bruce.
Yeah, I was about to say. I don't want to have to make cuts. All right, go.
Kane at 10. You and Tyler had him at 13 together.
So how the fuck? Yeah, the math was like weird on the consensus rankings. I did it right, but it's still
they got 12th. But I think Kane's 10th bumped him up just enough because we had enough people in that
there
12
was like a cluster there
13
with,
range that it just
that cluster of teams. None of them ended up in that cluster, and they just like went complete opposite. It was the Raiders, the Colts, the Cowboys, then the Eagles, then I believe it was the Saints, and then it was the Dolphins. You think the Dolphins, Cowboys, and Eagles all went drastically in the good direction,
and then the
Saints,
other three,
Cowboys, Raiders, all drastically in the other direction. None of them were right around there. It's weird. And the Saints, I'm keeping receipts on the Saints because we got like a significant amount of backlash from like a bunch of Saints fan pages saying how moronic we were for having the Saints at 16. Shut the fuck up. Anyway.
I mean, I'm slightly keeping Adroy comments on my own about the Chargers and the Broncos final standings, but it's halfway through the year and we are banged up like crazy.
Yeah.
Friend of the podcast. So I'll bring it up at the end of the year if we make it. But
I'm just going to go through and like a bunch of comments.
I'm going to take Raiders. Like a bunch of comments. I'm going to have to take the Raiders in this game just because Jeff Saturday literally just got there and a guy that's never called plays in his life for an NFL team is about to call plays.
Is Jeff Saturday and Sam Ellinger the next Brady and Belichick?
Obviously, yeah. I mean, what other answer would you expect out of that? We're back.
Yeah.
Come on.
All right. Next game. This would have been probably the game of the week if you asked me at the beginning of the season. This is going to be Cowboys-Packers. This is the Mike McCarthy game. Mike McCarthy finally getting to play against Aaron Rodgers for the first time in Dallas. Cowboys are favored by 4.5 on the road here. What is your thing to look out for in this game?
my thing to look out for. I mean, there's a few injuries going on in this. Dobbs out for several weeks with a high ankle sprain, 4 to 6 weeks at least. And then Jones playing on a low-grade sprained ankle. He'll play, but it might be a little more of an A.J. Dillon show. So I think McCarthy just kind of knows how Rodgers is going to want to play. And it might catch up to him. Because this Cowboys team is clicking pretty much at every level at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Dallas' offense, I will say since Dak, I know they put up 50 on Chicago, but, I mean, I'm unmoved by that. Cowboys' offense has not been as efficient as you'd want them to be since Dak got back. They've obviously been able to put up the points. I like Dallas a lot moving forward. It hurt me to move Dallas behind Baltimore for power rankings this week. I've wanted to move Dallas in front of Minnesota for a few weeks now, but, Minnesota continues to win these close games, and I can't do it. And we have a Vikings fan on the podcast, so I get pushback. But I like Dallas moving forward. Obviously, this defense has been much better than I anticipated it being. Obviously, we knew how good the offense was going to be. They're another team. This is the Brandon Cooks game to a certain degree. Of Dallas was right there for Brandon Cooks at the end. Weren't able to work out the details contractually. Look at that. They really needed to, though, because this wide receiver 2 problem is legit. Noah Brown, it's been, what the fuck is there? Jalen Tolbert. They haven't found a guy to go alongside.
Has done nothing.
Yeah, they haven't found a guy to go alongside CeeDee Lamb. I mean, you're throwing the ball to Dalton Schultz. You're getting Tony Pollard involved, which has been great, but man, I don't want to have to speed run through these next couple games. I know that we're in the middle of a podcast. I don't want to have to speed run through these next couple games. We are pushing an hour and a half here, and I feel like if we continue at the rate that we're going at, we're going to hit 2 hours, and nobody wants to watch a 2-hour podcast.
We don't have that many more games.
That's true. We've got 3 games left, but they are 2 good games, and then the Commanders-Eagles game.
Yeah,
I guess if you want to, the Cardinals-Rams, dude, that's fucking 2-3 win teams going at it. But it feels like it should be a good game, at least in your head. AJ Dillon, do we think he's going to be good this week? That is such a vague question. This
Not
is
really.
A1.
I mean,
podcast.
The offensive line's too good. You know the run's going to be coming at you, and you have to worry about Alan Lazard, who may or may not be healthy, and Christian Watson, who can't fucking catch. So, I think this is going to be a game where that Dallas defense kind of imposes their will on them, and then they do what they want. And then maybe Tony Pollard stumbles into the end zone, or Zeke, one or the other. They're just going to run the clock out. It's going to be time management, which I know was McCarthy's issue last year, but I just don't see a way that Packers can actually compete in this unless Aaron Rodgers finds that fuel to light his flame in this game. But he didn't have anybody to throw to, so it's kind of hard to ignite it.
See, that's what I was going to say was do we think this is the game where Rodgers just flips that switch and is just absolutely perfect start to finish, and they gut out a win here in Dallas, or against Dallas, but I don't know. It's really tough to predict that.
He poured some gasoline, but it was on top of nothing.
Yeah.
He's going to light the match, and then he's going to throw it on to nothing. Yeah. Never going to light anything.
Yeah. All right, well, with that being said, I take it you're going Dallas on both here?
I am.
As am I.
Dallas on both.
God, they're going to be the Packers are going to be 3-7. 3-7. Moving on to game number 11, we have the Arizona Cardinals going to LA to play the Rams. Divisional matchup here, 2 3-win teams going at it. This is another game. I can't believe these teams are as bad as they are. The Cardinals, I did say the Cardinals would be pretty bad. And lo and behold, here we are. The spread on
Victory
this one.
lap there.
I mean, subtle little something or other. The Rams are only favored by 1.5 in this one at home, which means, neutral field. They think the Cardinals are a better team than the Rams, and I don't know if I'm with that. What do you think?
It's like splitting hairs at this point. I saw the Rams favored by 1.5 in one of the books I looked at, so we'll see. It's just rough. It's a matter of like Matt Stafford at this point because he's going through concussion protocol, and as seriously as they're taking, it makes it so volatile on what you could actually expect for going into the game, little game expectations, because he hasn't had that week to work with the team. I know the last game they played that Cooper got held in check. I can't imagine that this defense can actually hold him in check again. And if you put Ramsey on Hopkins for the entire game, that's about all they have on offense at this point. And James Conner is not a real threat against that defensive line. It just seems like a setup game.
Yeah, I'm taking the Rams by like a bajillion on this one. I don't know why this spread is as close as it is. I feel like this is free money for the Rams to, by a point and a half. I mean, that's basically a money line pick at that point.
Oh God, I took Arizona on the spreadsheet. I might need to change that real quick.
No. You have to take it. You have to do it. What is wrong with you? You have to stick with it.
Oh no, it says LA Rams on the spreadsheet.
Weird,
oh wow.
Weird. Very strange. Yeah, this is just a bad matchup all around. The Cardinals have one receiver. The Rams had one good corner. They cancel each other out. Cardinals can't run the ball. Doesn't help when Aaron Donald's on the other side. And the Cardinals' offensive line has been terrible this year. And like the weaknesses that the Rams have, obviously, that offensive line. Cardinals pass rush can't really split that because Cardinals don't have a pass rush. So, yeah, I don't really understand this one. I hate the shit on the Cardinals. No, I don't hate the shit. I love the shit on the Cardinals. Go ahead.
I would like to say that Kyler Murray currently being limited in practice with hamstring issue. So maybe he's not as explosive as we're used to when he comes out. I looked at the practice reports. He's dealing with hamstring issues at the moment.
Well,
could be an issue if Aaron Donald was coming right in his face.
I was about to say, what if we have John Wofford versus Colt McCoy in this one? Wouldn't that make this one a little bit spicier?
If your definition of spice is putting salt on something, yes.
Yeah. God, just pouring water on it. Yeah. So I'm taking Rams on both. Are you with me on that?
Yeah, I had a change of heart. I think after looking at the Kyler Murray report, I think that it's going to be the Rams.
But okay,
this Hard Knocks thing in the middle of the season.
Oh my God, I was talking to Kane about
for them.
That is so bad of whoever made that decision to put with Keim getting as much criticism as he does, with Cliff getting as much criticism as he does, with Kyler getting as much criticism as he does, and to put a fucking camera crew in that locker room in the second half of the season when this team stereotypically
this is a genius idea.
I mean, no, bravo
this
to
is
HBO.
Genius idea. That's going to get them to revolt against the head GM and head coach. It's going to get the fans involved to try to make the push, force them out.
I think that push is already being made. Hot take. I think
it is, but it's going to be even more.
Yeah.
You put it on national television, teams or fans outside of the fan base are going to be like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah. All right. Now, if it's Wofford versus Kyler Murray, obviously.
I mean, yeah, I'm going to have to take Kyler Murray in that. But.
Okay. So we're going to put an asterisk on this and we cover our asses regardless. So Stafford doesn't play. We're going Cardinals.
Change
Stafford
the graphic
plays,
for you and me, depending on who's active.
Yeah, I'll just live change it on Instagram. We'll put that feature into the app. Next game, Sunday Night Football. We got one more after this one. I promise. We're almost done. Chargers, Niners. See, this is why. This is going to be a long game because you're like, you took a deep breath. You're ready to go. Niners. Other than the Chiefs game and the Eagles game that we're about to get to, this is the largest spread of the week, believe it or not. 7-point favorites are the San Francisco 49ers at home.
Bullshit.
Obviously, the Chargers are coming into this one a little banged up. 49ers were able to get back healthy. They played really well last time we saw them against the other team from LA, the LA Rams, who we just talked about. Christian McCaffrey putting that triple crown on, looking like one LaDainian Tomlinson out there. How's that make you feel? pretty good debut, man, and I will stand
Feels
by it.
racist.
That's a good
Second
trade.
game.
That's a good trade for the Niners. I don't give a shit what
It
they
was
gave
good.
up. I stand by it. And
It was a good
everybody's like, the
trade.
value wasn't there. It's a running back, blah, blah, blah. I don't give a shit. He's a good player. And the way Shanahan can use him as opposed to like Jeff Wilson or Elijah Mitchell, and I know those guys can be 1,000-yard rushers if you put them in that offense, but Christian McCaffrey can just do so much more than those guys all across the field.
I mean, as the visual watchers, the people watching on
Visual
YouTube
watchers.
as opposed to listening on Spotify. Sorry,
Nice.
but I'm rocking the old Derwin James jersey. I had to rock the old throwbacks because Jason Barrett ruptured his Achilles. Surprise, surprise. Got his 6th season-ending injury there on the 49ers. I had to throw it back a little for us, but I think it's going to be the key to us.
And rip
Can
Jerry
he stop
Tillery.
Mr. McCaffrey? I mean, rip Bozo on that one. But he was kind of turning the corner, and it's unfortunate that we cut him as we just lost on Austin Johnson, who's actually been one of the most efficient run-stopping nose tackles in the league to this point for the rest of the year. Kind of on the rough spot. Our interior D-line's actually been good against the run as opposed to outside runs. We're lacking because we're missing Bosa and Kenneth Murray. He's a complete idiot, but he's next. He'll get waived next. No big deal. But I think Derwin James is going to have to be the key. They're going to be playing him close to the line. They're not going to respect Jimmy Garoppolo to throw over top of everybody. Which, it's fair if you trust Asante and you trust Michael Davis to actually be able to produce against Debo and them. It's hopeful. I know. And you just have to hold up against the run and just play good enough coverage.
You're really making the case here for the Niners 7-point spread here.
I mean, literally everything is matched up against us. We have no fucking receivers at this moment, and our corners are banged up.
That's where you want to exploit them.
Evens out. Eckler's in, but they have great linebackers. They should be able to stop it. We're likely to be missing a right tackle when Nick Bosa's coming back. Gonna get crushed. Herbert's finally getting healthy. He had some zip behind the balls last week that I had not seen in several weeks. It's just a shame that we dropped 5 passes and one of them was an interception. Because we have complete duds out there. Keenan has yet to practice. We won. Get out of here. The Chargers charging is not a thing anymore. We're blowing 4th downs and managing for people to miss 50-yard field goals. The coin is finally flipping in our direction. It is flipping in our direction. It's Staleying, which is a charging form. But
charging descendant.
It seems like things have gone so well in our way that it's bound to go and backfire. We kind of need Jimmy Garoppolo to just have one of his boneheaded moments because he has them. He can manage his way up to the Super Bowl in the playoffs as long as he is handing it off. But I think we might just be playing the box enough that we can scrape by. Hopefully. Turnovers happen. We need luck in this game, honestly.
Yeah, I agree, man. I told you before the show, I was like, dude, I've got a weird feeling that the Niners are going to kick the dog piss out of your Chargers, and I hate to say it, but just...
I mean, we're deprived of so much right now. It's hard to say that we're going to confidently win any game.
Yeah, that and the way you guys are running your offense, and obviously that is kind of a result of that deprivation.
Oh, no receivers, no speed.
Is that Justin Herbert has the 31st lowest depth of target, and his EPA per play is 33rd in the NFL right now of 32 starting quarterbacks. It's not good, and I hate the way that they're using him, and I know that they don't really have a choice, but man, it just sucks. It's I don't know if you sent it to me or something, but somebody was like, it's like having a Ferrari and you're driving it 10 under in a 55.
Yeah.
You just...
Yeah. It gets so old. Watch. And we're slowly falling apart piece by piece every week. starting to get a little healthier. I think Joey's back at the facility. He's
You guys
trying
are
to make
you
his
guys are
return from
Ninering
IR.
right now.
We're Ninering. We're not Ninering. We established that before them.
Sorry.
This is like a year after year thing, unfortunately. I'm tired of everybody says we put so much hope into the Chargers to be a Super Bowl contender. Well, yeah, we get injured every year. The past 2 years were complete luck in that we didn't have massive injuries. And it's just bound to catch up to us. I've accepted this fate at this point. If we can get healthy enough before the playoffs to make any sort of run, I'll be happy.
I mean, I still think you guys can get to the playoffs, and I've said it in the past. Like, if you guys face up against a team with a good running game, I think you'll go home. Just that, like, if you face the Browns in a wild card game of some kind, I think you're going home. And I know it's like gotten stereotypical.
Beat the Browns, get out of here.
I know, but you beat the Browns in 2 years in a row, and they've been like complete shootouts. And you're like, and Brandon Staley, that's like the one time where I've like looked at Staley and I was like, you're a fucking idiot. Like every other time that Staley's been like criticized across the media, I'm like, you know what? He's trying to win the game, and he trusts his offense more than his defense, and I don't blame him. But for that one,
but when you're up,
I was like, "What the fuck?
This
guy is unhinged, and he needs to be incarcerated." That one, I was like, "No, I can't rock with this anymore."
I will say, once Bosa gets back, I think the run defense will get better because we have been scorched by zone runs. Anything to the outside. That's where you see those Dameon Pierce 70, 80-yard runs and stuff like that. Just randomly. Walker, same thing. 40-yard run by Algier, I'm pretty sure was an outside zone run. They're just running to where Bosa would have been. And at this point, we're on a third-string D-end. What do you expect someone we're bringing up from a practice squad actually do in this situation? And then you have Kenneth Murray and Drew Tranquil, and if Tranquil is not running lightning fast, they're going to be Kenneth Murray. And Kenneth Murray is a complete donkey on the defense.
So, with all this being said, what do you got in this game? I mean, I've told you what I got. I've got the Niners winning by more than 7 points.
Chargers both.
Oh, of course.
I'm going to ride. I'm riding. I'm going to take us in every game, regardless of how much pain it causes me. I mean, Kane takes the Commanders in more games than he should. So I reserve the right to keep taking us.
I expect better from you. You should know better. Game 13. Look at this. I don't know why I keep like numbering off the games.
I've all but said 49ers are going to win.
Yeah. Except for the fact when you said Chargers, let's ride. Final game of the week, Monday Night Football. We have the potentially. What was the like final verdict on the Commanders like press conference today? Like, what exactly happened? I don't know. Somebody got sued or something.
I did not listen.
Because I saw that like there was a big announcement coming, and everybody was like,
that they had last year.
"Is this Snyder selling the team?" It turns out it wasn't. You know, specifically that. I know somebody's getting sued. You can't really suspend an owner, so I mean you can like fine and penalize an owner draft wise. Obviously, we saw that with Stephen Ross this year. Anyway, this game is the Commanders playing the Eagles in Philadelphia. The Eagles are favored by 11 points. Shocker, because they have not lost this year. Any chance that this is the week, Mitchell McDonald? Is there any chance?
I don't think it's this week. I think it could be a surprising week coming up. Like, don't they play the Packers coming up? They
got the Packers relatively soon.
I don't think this is going to be the team that surprises them. I feel like it might be a team that like everybody's looking down upon, but I don't think it's quite them because I don't think Heineke is going to pull out another miracle, try to throw one up into, as Mark Sanchez would say, a defensive team meeting right by the end zone, and then the ref kind of opens it up for you, like what he did with Samuel.
That was stupid. All right, rest of season. This is what Philly's got. You got Washington this week on Monday Night Football. They go to Indy. Clearly, that's not going to be it. Then they got Green Bay. This one's weird because you feel like Green Bay, they could be in this game, but I don't know. They play Tennessee. Eagles have a great run defense, but Derrick Henry is a little matchup proof. Then they go to New York, play the Giants, and they go to Chicago, and then they go to Dallas. I think it's, if they haven't lost already, it's going to be at Dallas. That's the game. As long as, everybody's healthy on both sides, I think it's Dallas. That's going to knock them off. It's going to kind of feel like when the Panthers went, I think they went 14-0, and then they lost. And ended up finishing 15-1. Excuse me. I'm so sorry.
I don't know.
I've also
I
never
feel
heard
like
a person on
you're
a
thinking
podcast.
too logically on this.
Sorry.
I think you're
Go ahead
thinking
and
too
talk about
logically here. It's going to be like a game that, as we walk into it, it's not going to make sense why they lost that game. Kind of like when you guys lost randomly.
Like a Washington Commanders? Huh?
I think it's a little too early.
They did that to us, goddammit.
You're 11-0 streak to Washington.
Mm-hmm. On a fucking... Was that the game that got played on Wednesday because of... No, that was... Oh, was that the Ravens game?
That was the Ravens game. I know that.
It was a COVID game, but I think the Commanders game got pushed up, and then the Ravens game the next week got pushed back because they were both on NBC. But
yeah, that was like right in the middle of our fantasy playoffs. I feel like was when that happened.
Yeah, because it was RG3 playing quarterback.
Right before it.
Because it was, I think Lamar got COVID or was in the exposure or something like that. Reminiscing on when
the entire team got COVID.
Games. Yeah. Lamar never beat Big Ben?
That's a shame.
Hold on. Anyway, this game. Is there, any edge that Washington has here? Or is there, a thing? I don't think there's one.
I mean, no, there's not.
There's not a wide receiver corner matchup that I would say, this is favorable towards Washington.
Not at all.
The trenches goes to the Eagles on both sides of the ball.
Linebackers can't match up with Goddard.
Yeah, quarterback's better
Their
for
linebackers
Philly.
are better than the tight ends. Cornerbacks are better. Their cornerbacks have I think it was 10
I found one.
picks at this moment.
I found one. Commanders' run defense versus Miles Sanders and that band of idiots that they have in the running back room.
Oh,
I still don't trust
congratulations.
Yeah.
I don't either. I mean, if Jalen Hurts opens it up for him, that's the only issue.
I mean, he's a force multiplier, if you will, in the run game, obviously.
All right, Sam Monson. Come on.
Shut up.
As we talk about PFF shout-outs.
Yeah, I know. I love PFF, man. I hate the people that think they're all morons because they, use real statistics.
They follow stats.
Cordell Patterson had 5 carries tonight and 1 catch. Yikes.
Yeah, it was not good. Don't look at Donta Foreman. I know you were concerned about that, but don't look at it. It's only going to hurt you.
I'm gonna. What the fuck?
It's only going to hurt you.
Oh, wow. Whoa, wow. Oh, I thought it was hurt me in a bad way. Jesus Christ, he carried the ball 31 fucking times. And Chuba played.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
and you played Chuba.
Shit. Well, not in that league, but I did sit Foreman in favor of Jamal Williams, Cortland Sutton, maybe Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Oh, shut the fuck up. Yeah, that's the only edge. The Commanders, that front four, played really well last week against Minnesota. They were one of the main reasons why they stayed in that game. I'm still taking Philly on both here. Maybe Washington covers on a backdoor because you can get it to 10. No? Okay. Well, then I'll just... Okay.
I think...
If that's the case, I'll just take Philly on both. I think that's it. We're not going to cover Thursday Night Football because I didn't watch it. I know Mitchell did. I would let him monologue, but we're pushing 2-hour mark here. And that game, going into it, that game was shit. So, can you blame us for not?
Sorry, Falcons. Tier 4 next week.
Yeah, you guys are probably in the cellar next week. That's all we've got for today. Please be sure, if you've made it this far, God bless you. And please be sure to like and subscribe. I've got to remember to say that. Like, subscribe. If you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, download it. I think that's how that works. But obviously, you know how YouTube works. Like, subscribe, comment, go check out our stuff on Instagram. Hopefully, I'll have the All-Pro teams up by whenever this comes out. If not, go check out the awards. Go check out the power rankings. Keep the post noties on. Obviously, well, there's probably not a whole lot going on. But like if somebody gets injured, I'll probably post it, or if somebody gets fired, I'll post that too. So just be supportive.
Jeff Saturday gets
just
hired.
Generally, yeah. Just if another former player that has no coaching experience at the NFL level gets hired to be an interim head coach for a franchise that's kind of tunneling downward, I will post about it. So keep those post notifications on. I've never been able to think of what to say to end the podcast. Everyone have a nice rest of your day.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. This was
The Blitz.
Thanks, guys. Goodbye.